morning, everyone.
Good morning.
We'll begin with the invocation with Commissioner Harrison, followed by the pledge with Commissioner Scott.
Please join with me. We gather together today intent on doing good work. We seek to represent fairly and well those who have given us this task. Please allow us the wisdom to govern amid the conflicting interests and issues of our times, a sense of the welfare and true needs of our people, a keen thirst for justice and rightness, confidence in what is good and fitting, the ability to work together in harmony even when there is honest disagreement, personal peace in our lives and joy in our tasks. And please also give us the patience to listen to others. Amen.
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 Ezra?
You would please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Bob and Ezra. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Chickering.
Here.
Curran.
Here.
Freely.
Here.
Harrison.
Here.
Hugo.
Here.
Hinkleman. Majerick.
Here.
Meeks.
Here.
Scott.
Here.
Ballrat.
Here.
Yarborough.
Present.
Elliott.
Here.
Mr. Chair, you have 12 present.
Thank you. Would this be a good time to tell us about we have minutes to approve first, then we'll do communication. Any changes to the minutes from the 17th that were emailed out by the clerk? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the minutes as submitted?
This is Michael Majerick. I approve the minute or motion we make and approve of the minutes.
Thank you. Support?
Don Meeks, support.
Moved by Majerick, supported by Meeks. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Chickering.
Yes.
Curran.
Yes.
Freely.
Yes.
Harrison.
Yes.
Hugo.
Yes.
Hinkleman. Majerick.
Yes.
Meeks.
Yes.
Scott.
Abstain, I wasn't there.
Ballrat.
Affirmative.
Yarborough.
Yes.
Elliott.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, I have 11 yeas and 1 abstention.
Thank you. Communications.
You received a resolution for Bay County Board of Commissioners to urge the President of the United States, the Senate, and Congress to provide financial assistance required to aid states and local units of government as they continue to deal with the economic long-term effects of COVID-19, received on September 16th. One email from the email address advocacy@bluestatedigital.com with a name and no address regarding Michiganians deserve a fair election in November and beyond, received on September 19th. That's it.
Okay. We'll proceed then to the election update by the clerk. I'm going to be out of view from the camera for a couple of minutes, Sharon, while you're doing your presentation.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I kind of want to give you an update where we are with the election. In August, we had the primary. Right before the primary, Christy Aubrey, who was my election administrator, turned in her resignation to take care of family due to the pandemic in Louisiana. After that, we hired and promoted within one of my court clerks. And as of last week, she decided to resign also as my election administrator and will be going back to court clerk 2. During the pandemic, I had a part-time elections clerk who was promoted to a civil full-time position for me. At this time, I've hired and working with Jason Watts, and I've kind of given him the title as my election coordinator. I have worked this situation out so far with our county administrator. I talked to Chairperson Elliott. I talked to John DeWayne. The gentleman I hired is Jason Watts. He's a former Allegan County election administrator. His mother was the county clerk and has retired, and he worked with the current, and now he is self-employed within the elections arena. Right now, Judge Dwayne is working out a contract for Jason Watts, which will be going to the Personnel Committee, and I hope you approve that because I am very much in need of election expertise at this time. I have located and plan to hire, after we get done through the physicals, a new election administrator, but that makes us very new and fresh and an all hands on deck. The move ballots did go out on Saturday. There was a kind of a misprint within the Bureau of Elections on their date chart, which confused a lot of voters and residents, thinking ABs and everything else was going to arrive on time and everything, but the date is really actually today. Because of the challenges I have faced with staffing, the Bureau of Election is facing staffing issues too, due to the August primary and the August primary running into the November with very fine deadlines, with the Republican and Democratic Party having their state conventions to pick their Wayne State governor's race, their Michigan State, the University of Michigan, the State Board of Education, there's Michigan Supreme Court Justice, and those primaries being, those conventions being so late into the end of August into September has delayed a lot of getting the ballot to the printer. Also, we end up having, when the Republican Party did the convention, the Bureau of Election disqualified the candidate for the Wayne State governor. Then the Republican Party had to re-nominate someone, so that creates delays in putting the ballot together. Also, when you're putting the ballot together, you are working with the state of Michigan and the county and the local clerks. We got locked out and they had issues with the qualified voter ballot administration that we couldn't even access to work on it. So we have had those challenges, and we've also had a lot of challenges getting all the changes, and especially splits and different ballot styles, like for library boards, for school districts. It's been a long and bumpy road. So today, AV ballots are supposed to arrive. We are right now had to do some different changes and put all forces into moving forward. So on Monday, as we knew that the vendor, which we had because certain clerks want special coloring, certain types and styles and numbering, what the specialized styles, they were on delay. We contacted the Bureau, we contacted corporate counsel, and also talked to the vendor. The vendor made a switch on ballots. So we should be receiving AV ballots today, but they are not, they're more the just solid black ballots. There's no extra coloring or markings, and it should meet the constitutional rights of the 40 days. Unfortunately, we are still waiting for the printer to delivering them. I'm not sure if they're coming by UPS. The local clerks are supposed to put a notice on the door notifying when they're available. Hopefully, people will understand that it's more important to have an accurate ballot than a wrong ballot. And I hope that the voters and the people will understand the pressures of the local clerks, the county clerks, and everybody involved, because really that primary date needs to change to June, and Senator Eric Nisbet has that bill, because it's just about impossible to be in compliance with everything we have in front of us. Now, as you know, going forward with this, on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, due to a lot of staff changes and needs I have, Stacy Porter is assisting me with training, and some of the other local clerks are too. Since she is a larger county, she is the trainer certified. So we will be starting training on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. And our print shop is doing all the work and material. I will be accompanying and getting the certificates out. I want to make sure that all voters know that you can vote straight ticket and you can split your ballot and not spoil it. So if you want to vote for one party and you decide you want to cross over and your neighbor is on the other party, you can make that vote too. Also, the Board of Canvassers, a lot of the clerks are buying new ballot containers, and because of after 4 years ago, I feel that we may have a recount. So the Board of Canvassers will meet on Friday, October 9th at the Niles Courthouse, and we will be certifying a lot of new bags again. I've been working with Administrator Doucette in case we have a presidential recount like we did before. Due to all the changes within the courts and the pandemic and jury issues, a lot of the buildings have been occupied or already been reserved. So we are working with Lake Michigan College in case we have that large of a recount again, and a secure place that we know that we will be able to lock all the ballots up. We will also be having, when the Board of Canvassers come in after election night, we will be going to the health department, and that Christy's been working with me to get the conference room there, since we cannot go into the jury room or other areas, and keeping all of our distance. I do believe that election night will be long, and longest is not a bad thing. That means that we're being more accurate, having more accuracy and security within that process. It doesn't mean it's a fault of the local clerk or the county clerk or anybody else. I'd rather have people be more detailed and precise in what they're doing. So my estimate of that election probably will be Wednesday about 10 a.m. in the morning, when all the results come in Berrien County. People need to realize when votes do come on and you go onto the county website, it's the people who voted in person. The ABs come in last. And I would say 2/3 of your votes are ABs and the rest are walk-ins. Remember, you can vote on the same day. You can get an AB the same day. If people can wait, the other ABs should be mailed out on Tuesday and Wednesday. That's when the bulk of the rest of the ballots will be delivered from the original printer. I have a lot of thank yous to Chairperson Elliott, Administrator Doucette, the Personnel Department, the Personnel Committee for working with me, the Printing Department, my vendors, the Bureau, the local clerks, and my staff, because this is a major team effort to make this election successful, secure, and safe for everyone, and making sure that everybody's vote counts. Also, make sure if you are a voter and you're listening in today, make sure if you have your AB, or you still want an AB application to get your ballot, go to your local clerk, not your county clerk. It will be the local clerk. If you want to register vote, you go to the local clerk. Also, you can do it online and visit the Michigan Secretary of State's website, www.michigan.gov/vote. And you can find all your information there and make sure that everybody's vote counts. I wish everybody success, and if you have any questions, please feel free to contact me. But mainly it's your local clerk. Also, there will be write-ins. And October 23rd is still the last day for no party affiliation write-ins. And we are seeing a lot of write-ins. If you go to vote at your poll, the poll workers and election workers cannot tell you who those write-ins are. I cannot tell you who they are. You need to go and ask your local clerk. So I did that report really quick, so I'm saying a lot of prayers.
Any questions for the clerk?
Mr. Chairman, Elliot Mamie Yarborough.
Yes, ma'am.
I would like to know, is it too late for people to apply to be poll workers?
Right now, I feel we have enough poll workers, let's call them election workers. They're being trained Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. If they still have them, we're doing training on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. That will be the last day I can certify anybody for training. At this time, I think the local clerks are filled. If they are looking to be an election worker, they need to contact the local clerk. That is out of my jurisdiction. My jurisdiction is within the training.
I thank you so much. I needed to know that.
You're welcome.
And just one other thing I want to say, the sheriff is sitting there, and you, Clerk Tyler, and Jason Watts, I thank you for helping me. I had questions about, can people in jail vote? And you all told me the rule, and Jason Watts sent me the MCL, whatever that is. He sent me the MCL, and then Sheriff Bailey called me and said they are prepared for inmates to be able to vote. They have there the application for an absentee ballot. If they want to register, they'll have to write a note to their community where they live, and Sheriff Bailey has all the addresses of the clerks. They can write a note, put a stamp on it, the jail will send it out. If they find they receive a request and receive an absentee ballot and they have been released from jail, then that absentee ballot will be sent back to the clerk where it came from. So please know that inmates can vote if they've not been arraigned or sentenced. Is that correct, Sheriff?
The arraignment doesn't have anything, they just have to be not sentenced.
Not sentenced.
Yeah, if they're sentenced, they can't vote. If they're not sentenced, they can vote.
Okay, thank you.
Very good. Any other questions? All right, broadband discussion. Brian?
Members of the board, we have Mr. John Engelhoff here. He's participating via Zoom. John is the executive director of the Southwest Michigan Planning Commission. John has worked with the county's broadband committee. The committee is made up of Commissioner Scott, Commissioner Freeland, Commissioner Curran. John has given a ton of time and quite a bit of effort working with the committee over the last 1.5 to 2 years. Today marks, I guess, what I would call the handoff from the committee to the full board. John's going to walk you through a brief presentation, and then my hope is to engage in a discussion with the board about next steps. With your permission, Mr. Chair, we'll have John present the following slideshow, which should be up on each of your screens. Mr. Chair, are we okay to proceed?
Yes, we are. Thank you.
All right.
Thanks for the opportunity to speak. And I don't have a long slide deck for you, so you can breathe easy on that. But I do want to cover some ground as to where we've been. The committee that has been working with the Southwest Michigan Planning Commission and the commission itself. So that's the intent here, to catch you up on what ground we've covered. So Annette, if you can move forward. Thank you. Recall that the commission established broadband as a priority at some point, and then the previous county administrator suggested that the Southwest Michigan Planning Commission would be the place where the work would happen. So really since that time, September 2019, we began to meet, and every 3 weeks we had a scheduled meeting. So between that time, the commission, Southwest Michigan Planning Commission, was researching and building linkages in between those meetings. By that, I mean, we were exploring what opportunities were out there in the broadband sphere. And then at those 3-week intervals would report back to the varying committee and we would have conversation about it. Generally, those meetings were between an hour and an hour and a half long, sometimes longer. Annette, you can go ahead. But in June of 2020, the cadence of the committee meetings increased. So we decided to start meeting every 2 weeks. It was obvious that opportunities for action had increased at that point to me, and that the pace of information intake had also increased. So we started, picking up the pace in it ourselves as well. Go ahead. I want to cover some of the research and linkages that were established in that period of time and the ground that was covered. So internet service providers were, many of them had opportunity to sit down and have protracted conversations with them. Those include an internet provider I think they're from Grand Rapids, called ACD. Many of you know Midwest Energy and Communications, a co-op in Cassopolis that's very aggressive. A company called Aspen Wireless that has laid a lot of fiber and built wireless networks. Go ahead, Annette. I've spoken to academic experts from around the country, including the Michigan State University has a seat for someone called an innovation fellow. And that gentleman's name is Mitchell Shapiro. He's been fantastic. I've had a lot of meetings with him. The Center for Regional Economic Innovation at MSU is also a really progressive and great partner. And then Varian Reese's technology director has been a great resource as well. Can advance. There are folks in the nonprofit world that focus on broadband, and those folks that I've spoken with include the folks at Connected Nation, or what used to be known as Connect Michigan. I don't think they're still known that way, but that organization is still involved and great. An organization called Internet2, a specific individual there who's the director, a very amazing organization that all of these things I'd be glad to talk more about if you're interested. And then an organization called Merit that you'll hear more about in a bit. Folks in government, I've spoken to people in Linden Township, a collaborative called the Broadband Cooperative in Washtenaw. I've had some meetings with an organization, the Electric Power Board of Chattanooga, Tennessee, that built their own broadband network. And one of your fellow commissioners in Cass County, a man named Robert Benjamin, is a former township administrator in Milton. And he's a Microsoft executive and essentially built or established a complete broadband network in Milton Township in Cass. Had an interesting conversation, well, multiple conversations with him. He's been wonderful. On the private foundation side, the Pokagon Fund is very, very interested in broadband, very much interested in being a partner. These linkages, you find opportunities to speak to people, and one of them was a person who I was astounded I got some time with. He had multiple affiliations, including an organization called the Post Road Foundation. He is a consultant to the Cyber Law Clinic of Harvard Law School and the Berkman Center for Internet and Society. amazing guy, very helpful, and most of these people are very happy to continue dialogue with us. Broadband entrepreneurs, there's plenty of those out there. An organization called CrowdFiber, and I've spoken to them and someone at Interlink. Go ahead. Okay, so what did we learn? I hope that wasn't too tedious, but I do want to make you aware that we've covered a lot of ground. So what did we learn from all of that? Well, we learned that there are now federal and there was state grants, and I suppose in the not too distant future, we can expect there probably will be again state grants where they previously weren't. So there's public money available for broadband, which is it's a very good thing. Fiber optic is king. It's as close to future-proof as we can get. So when we talk about how you build a broadband network, fiber optic is front and center. 5G wireless is good, but it's problematic for rural places. It has aspects that can work. So 5G, when you hear about it, is still a good thing. So stay tuned for that. I'm happy to provide more information. FCC maps, the Federal Communications Commission maps that show coverage and speed simply are not accurate. And this is a nationwide problem that most folks in the broadband sphere kind of recognize, just as a matter of fact. And then my fifth thing that we've learned, extensive opportunities for innovation in the provision of broadband. So it's not a kind of, you've got it or you don't, you've got one option, and if you pick it, fine. If you don't, sorry about your luck. There's actually a lot of creativity in the way communities have addressed their broadband needs. Go ahead. Without accurate maps of need, we can't know where to focus action. So this is where the problem of the FCC map starts to manifest itself. They're not just inaccurate maps, they actually are a link to how we fulfill needs for broadband. And if we don't know where the needs are, then it's very difficult to get help in fulfilling those needs. And then, essentially, without accurate maps of need, it's very difficult to prove to funders where funds are needed. So you want to make the case to a funder that you need broadband, but if you can't produce accurate maps, then you won't be able to make that case. Go ahead. So what about broadband gaps for K-12 students? This was a sort of a side piece of the project, of the kind of handoff from Berrien administration over to the SWMPC. Let's get K-12 students linked up that are currently not. So we've been working with Berrien RISA to understand where the needs are. And we actually have a partner in Merit who is willing to help us try to fulfill that need, or at least parts of it. But the first thing we need to do, again, is to understand where the need is. So thankfully, the technology director at RISA is our link to this. He is reaching out to local districts to provide data back to RISA. And then RISA will share that data with the SWMPC, and we will together figure out if there's a way we can map that data, and then start working with folks outside of us to start getting broadband opportunity, perhaps through enhanced Wi-Fi hotspots, where students can interact with their schools. Okay. I think this essentially says the same thing I just finished saying, although that last bullet is another bit of emphasis I haven't made already, that we really need to be prepared to be innovative on this one. Because I think one solution is not going to satisfy the need. We're probably going to have to look at multiple different strategies to attack where the need is. And oh my goodness, if there's one thing the pandemic has done for us, it's really put this in absolutely bright focus that this is a really big deal. So we're very well aware of that. Okay. Well, that's it. A brief run through of where we've been and what we've learned.
Members of the board, this is Brian Bissett. We do have a proposal from Merit Network that seeks to follow up on the committee's recommended action from the actions that John just described. The data collection would focus solely on Berrien County, and that cost would be $28,500. The fiscal year priorities established that broadband improvements countywide is something that the Board of Commissioners agreed upon and ultimately adopted into your fiscal year priority listing. Now, the downside is you don't have a dedicated budget to fund the $28,500 worth of survey work. If the board was desirous of moving forward, that's something that we could build to the contingency line item. There is sufficient funds to cover the cost. If the board wished to essentially delay on the rollout of the Merit survey, it is something that we could work to add to the budget for the upcoming fiscal year. So you do have a couple of options. Now, the only thing that I would remark is that I don't want to use urgency, but it is pretty evident that between the CARES Act and other federal funding, more than likely, as we get into the spring of 21, that there's likely to be grant funding made available for local units, or potentially county units, to pursue the construction of broadband infrastructure. So there is value in having the Merit survey completed. The real question is, to this group, is this something that you want to talk about today, or is it something that you'd like to talk about as part of your budget development? We do have 3 county commissioners who have worked on this for a year and a half. If the chair is comfortable with this, it may be a good time to allow them to offer their thoughts. Mr. Chair, are you comfortable with that?
Yes, is that Terry, Jim, and Bob?
Terry, Jim, and Ezra.
Ezra, that's right. Okay, yes, if the 3 of you care to chime in, this would be a good time. Not in any particular order, whoever wants to go first.
Mr. Chair, this is Commissioner Scott. When I brought this back from Terry and I brought this back from DC, we all thought it was a good idea to pursue. We attempted to pursue it for a $28 million grant for rural broadband through the USDA. And we did not have all of our ducks in a row. Right now, the most important thing is the Merit survey that needs to be completed to show the need. That is part of a grant program that we need to have that survey done. So since we did make it part of our priority, I believe we should go forward with having Merit do the survey and gathering the data for us, because as of right now, and John Egelhoff will attest, we are one of 83 counties, but so far we are the only county in the state of Michigan that has made broadband a priority in our strategic plan. And this is what is exciting a lot of the the people like from Merit and the fellows from MSU and some of these broadband people that we've been contacting. They're just excited because finally they have a county that is being proactive. So I would suggest we go through it. I'd like to see if we even had a motion today to approve the merit. And if need be, I would make that motion, but I will give Jim and Terry also a chance to speak. But those are my feelings. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Ezra. Terry, then Jim.
Mr. Chair, I appreciate the opportunity to speak on this subject. As Commissioner Scott had mentioned, I've come to realize how critical broadband is and have known this for a few years just because of the nature of where I live and the activities with which my family does. Precision ag in the agricultural industry is becoming more and more critical and less of a luxury and more of an essential need. I think that the pandemic has made this subject matter more of a glaring, urgent need throughout our country, and particularly for me here within Berrien County. And so I would urge this board to consider adding this to our action items for today versus waiting in our budget cycle to move this forward, to put this into contingency expenses and really get the maps that we need in order to be effective in any of the funding opportunities that we're going to be going forward, looking and seeking for. If you look at the current FCC maps within Berrien County, the census tract that I live within currently claims that I have broadband access, but I can tell you the last time that I did a speed test, I think I had 3.4 as my download speed and not even 1 as my upload speed. With 2 young children who continuously are tapping into my bandwidth, be it for school activities or anything else, and then doing virtual meetings like this, I've come to realize that that is absolutely unacceptable in the day and age that we live in. And so I urge this board to consider moving this forward as an action item today. Thank you.
Well,
Thank you,
let
Terry.
let me first say that I appreciate all the time and effort that John Egelhoff has put into this project for us. I think Ezra and Terry have pretty well covered it. Really, the merit survey is the first step before we can even think about applying for any kind of grant funding. We have to do this. And I think you saw in John's presentation that the FCC maps are inaccurate. As Terry just said, you know, they say what she's supposed to have, but what she actually has received is 2 different things. And that's where the merit survey will show exactly what we have and what we don't have. So I would concur with the other 2 commissioners that we go ahead and approve the 28.5 and get merit started, because again, that's the first step. Before we can apply for any grant funding, we have to have this information. So I would encourage this board to approve that, and I would be happy to second Commissioner Scott's motion if he wants to make it.
All right, so that we can further the discussion, Ezra, go ahead and remake your motion. Jim, if you want to support it, do that, and then we'll open it up for discussion with the full board.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is Commissioner Scott. I'd like to make a motion that this board enter into the agreement with Merit to do the broadband survey and to have the contract and everything taken care of and by our administrator, Brian Doucette, and that we do that today.
All right, Jim?
Yes, sir. I would like to second that motion.
Okay, it's been moved and supported. It's now open for discussion. Anyone wish to be heard?
Mamie Yarborough.
Yes, ma'am.
Chairman, were there any bids put out, or is this the only company that does this kind of work, or are those steps, have they been followed?
Anybody know the answer?
Mr. Chair, this is Brian Dissett. I'm going to ask John to participate in the response to that question. John, can you respond to that?
Sure. This is the sort of the point at the end of a fairly long road where I established a relationship with Merit and then followed the advice of a lot of experts to ask this of Merit, and then they produced the proposal. The answer specifically is no, it has not been bid across multiple providers. It is one organization that it's a nonprofit. They have done this work in Washtenaw and one other place, but it is part of a much larger effort of theirs, Michigan-wide, to do this kind of work to help support communities that are trying to do what you're trying to do.
Thank you.
All right, other questions? Yes, sir.
Mamie, just so you're aware, the Merit is well recognized and well respected in this field. And I think that's one reason why John reached out to them, and they have become a very good partner of ours to get this completed.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments?
Mr.
Go ahead, Commissioner Freeland, go ahead.
Freeland.
Go ahead, Jerry.
I just wanted to piggyback on Jim's comment to just state that John is definitely vetted out through all of his research where we needed to land with regards to this. And that is why I'm comfortable saying that moving forward with this contract is in the best interest of the county.
All right. Jim, did you have something more?
No, I was just endorsing the Merit and the fact that they are highly regarded here.
Mac, this is
Mel.
Commissioner Scott. Mac, this is Commissioner Scott. I would like to make a little caveat to this. I believe we're going to have a unanimous vote for this. I would hope so, but my caveat to that is what is so important is to get the word out to each one of our communities in our district to let the people know that when they get this survey, it is not a junk mail thing. This is something that the county, we need this. We have found out, according to what John Eaglehoff has told us, and it's quite sad, that when they do these, sometimes they only get a certain low percentage of people responding to it. Because of our need and our wants and desires and our forethought of doing this before other counties in the state of Michigan, we're once again, Berrien will be leading in the state of Michigan on this. We need to have as much participation as possible, and we need every commissioner to let all of their districts and all of their municipalities know, and their chamber of commerces and things like that, to get people to fill out this survey and participate. That's my only thought. I just wanted to let that be known.
Mac, I have a
Okay.
question. This is Commissioner Ballroth.
Yes, sir.
I just wonder what happened in Washtenaw County if we're the first one according to Commissioner Scott, but they were involved with Washtenaw County. What happened there?
This is John speaking. Washtenaw had an incredible survey response. They were well into the upper 30% of their population that actually participated in the survey. So it was a rousing success. That's a level at which those who do these kinds of surveys realize that that's kind of the promised land.
And Commissioner
Okay.
Volrath, I just wanted to reiterate and make clear my statement where I said we were going to be leading and we were first. I don't believe Washtenaw County went the way we're going, where we're trying to secure a $28 million grant from the federal government through USDA. And this is one of the, through the rural broadband, and this is one of the most important things is to secure that grant money. And we would probably be the first to do that. So that's what I meant by that.
Question?
Yes, sir. Hi, Bill.
Hi, this is great. My question is, going forward from here, is this now a project for Berrien County, or is Southwest Michigan Planning going to continue to lead this, or a collaboration?
Mr. Chair, can I respond to that?
Sure, please.
So to address Commissioner Chickering's question, we don't control Southwest Michigan Planning Commission, but we certainly have a desire to work with them. If the board moves forward with authorizing the merit proposal, the proposal is specifically written to Berrien County administration. My intent would be to finalize the agreement with Merit and then collaborate from start to finish with John and his team to ensure that he is getting any and all information that comes out of the survey. To address some of the comments earlier about trying to get active engagement, my plan would be to work with John to issue a series of news releases, social media posts, and then direct communication with the various villages, township leaderships to ensure that we're doing our very best to get the word out that this is something that is being worked on. Now, as we progress through today's meeting, I do have John Axe that will be addressing long-term questions about public ownership related to broadband. That's about a mile down the road, but I figured it was probably a good time to get the commissioners updated on some of the challenges that could present themselves as we work through this process. But step one is to engage Merit, have them as a contractor directly to Berrien County, begin developing a better understanding of what gaps we face in broadband, and share that information, not just with the Planning Commission, but also with the local units of government. Sir, does that address your question?
Thank you.
Yep.
Anyone
May I,
else?
Mr. Chair?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I just want to point out that, we reached out to John. We reached out to Southwest Michigan Planning Commission for their help. And I see, as we go forward, a collaborative effort. I don't see a point where we will drop Southwest Michigan Planning Commission and do any of this on our own. John has been an invaluable resource, and I see this as a collaborative effort going forward.
I agree.
Okay. Anyone else have anything to share? I have a question. We're meeting for the next 4 weeks after this. We're not going to meet the last week of October as things stand right now, because that's a 5th Thursday. When we do professional service contracts without a bid, even when the proposed vendor has high marks and a good reputation, we typically try to provide some kind of a reference in the body of a resolution to explain why we aren't seeking competitive bids from other professional service providers. In part because if we go back several months later or a couple of years later and say, so how is it that we ended up with this particular company? There's a paper trail, there's a document that memorializes why we did it this way. My question is this. If we move this to our agenda for the next meeting, which is the 1st of October, and then prepare a resolution, an appropriate enabling resolution, which specifically includes language explaining why we are going with this particular company on a no bid basis, I'd be a lot more comfortable because it would be consistent with the protocol we've established over a period of several years. Now, if there's some reason that we have to do this today, then that needs to be reflected in the motion. Ezra, your motion would need to be amended to reflect that it is so time sensitive that we can't wait 7 days to prepare a written resolution and have it as a scheduled agenda item. So tell me what you think.
I would, I guess I would defer to Administrator Doucette on this and John Egelhoff. And if that is the case and it can wait until we prepare the correct resolution, then I would withdraw that motion and wait until next week to do a resolution, which would, I believe, would be a good resolution rather than a one that would come out of committee. And if it is time sensitive and it does have to be, then I'll let my motion stand. So I kind of defer.
Okay, Brian, what say you?
Mr. Chair, I think for the good of the order, it makes a lot of sense to allow this to progress to the next meeting between myself and Annette. We can put together an authorizing resolution. I'll include a brief history of how we, as a broadband committee, got to this point. I'll also briefly describe the history of Merit Network. It is a nonprofit that in the late 60s was developed through 3 of the state's various public universities. I'll put that into a document and bring it back to the group for final consideration.
Great. And John, did you have anything to add in terms of your perspective? And can you provide some information to assist the county administrator in that document preparation if he needs it?
Yeah, I absolutely can. One great example of something that I think belongs there is their very ambitious Michigan Moonshot effort. And I think that's one piece where they have really put down on paper exactly what their intentions are in Michigan. And also, I've been a part of a broadband conference that's been going on this week, and Merit just won a national award for their Michigan Moonshot program. So I think there's that kind of other stuff that we can potentially have at that.
All right, thank you. Ezra, based on that, do you wish to withdraw your motion and defer to next week for board action?
Mr. Chair, this is Commissioner Scott. I withdraw my motion to approve the Merit contract for the broadband study. And I will defer to a resolution for next Thursday's meeting of the County Board of Commissioners.
Okay, great. Thank you.
I need Curran to accept that since he seconded.
Jim?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I think Ezra and my intent here was to move this forward, not let it languish. I fully understand your position and I agree with it. And as long as Brian and John say a week isn't going to be a deal breaker, I am fully prepared to withdraw my support of that motion.
Okay, thank you. With that, Brian, do we have anything else under broadband discussion, or are we ready to move to public comment for the resolutions?
Mr. Chair, we also have John Axe, who's going to brief the Board of Commissioners on some of the challenges that we will face if a publicly financed broadband system were to be considered at a future date. This is in no way intended to withdraw the excitement about performing the merit survey. This is just trying to get all 12 of you on the same page with some of the difficulties that are associated with publicly financed broadband.
Got it.
Does it make sense to move to that topic, sir?
It does, and I'm going to pass off to the vice chair because I have to break away from this meeting for another meeting. So Ezra, I'll leave it to you to take care of the balance of the agenda, if that's all right.
Yes, thank you, sir. I'll be more than pleased to do that.
Commissioner Scott, this is Commissioner Harrison. Sadly, I will not be able to attend next Thursday. So I just want to voice my support for Merit. I'm very familiar with them. They've been very integral in developing resources at the local community colleges. And so I'm, even though I won't be able to vote, I will be in complete support of this project.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Bob. Thanks, Ezra. I'm going to break away now. Everybody have a good rest of the day.
All right, thank you, you too.
Commissioner Scott?
Yes.
So this is Brian Dissett. We have two gentlemen that are ready to present to the board. Both are attorneys with Clark Hill. I believe every board member is familiar with attorney John Axe. John is joining via phone. John's partner is also on the Zoom. Charlie, can you wave at everyone there? All right, so Commissioner Scott, you do have two gentlemen who will be talking with you. Earlier today, I emailed the full board a PDF file that is from Clark Hill. John Axe will be referencing that. If any of you want to follow along, if you just take a look at your email, you should have that file.
All right, thank you. John, Charlie, whoever would like to go first.
I'm on. Actually, Charlie is participating in the meeting today, not on this subject, but on the other subject we're going to talk about in the closed session. So I just wanted him to know what we were doing, and so I sent him a copy of everything, including what you're looking at right now. First of all, we were asked to look at this particular situation because of the considerable interest by townships in your area in doing something in this particular field, I guess would be a good way to describe it. And what we've done is we've done some research. There are two statutes. First of all, the question was, and that's our question one, do the provisions of Act 185 of the Public Acts of 1957 as amended, or the provisions of Public Act 342 of the Public Acts of 1939 grant any power to the county in connection with projects like that? And the reason that question came up is that those are two statutes under which counties can assist local units of governments, and including counties, including townships and other local units, in sewer and water and all kinds of public works projects. Unfortunately, neither of those acts have grant any authority to the county in this particular area related to broadband. There might be something that went on with one of those other projects that might incidentally affect that, but it would be difficult to even guess what that would be. The second question is, and that's question 2 in my memorandum, do any other statutes give the county powers in this area? And the answer to that is yes, there are 2 statutes which do relate to this subject, and these statutes are regulatory and actually restrict what the county can do in the particular arena. One is the Michigan Telecommunications Act of 1991, and I have included an excerpt of that statute as an appendix, which is attached to what you have. And the second statute is the Metropolitan Extension Telecommunications Rights of Way Oversight Act of 2002. And that statute also, we have included the pertinent parts of that statute in our memorandum by referring to that as Appendix 2. And I'm going to just go through very shortly and not in any great length at all to tell you what the effects of these acts are on the actions of a county. So Act 179, which is the first of these, permits a county to provide telecommunications services within its boundary if the county has complied with the requirements of Section 14 of Act 48, which is the second act. And Section 14 of Act 48 has a number of requirements which apply before any service could be provided for by the county in this particular area. First, you need, and there's a whole list of things which are in that appendix, which were included. I'm not going to try to go through them all, but I just wanted to give you an idea of some of the things that are required. Among those is to hold a public hearing with prior public notice, and then it goes on to require that 30 days prior to holding the hearing, the county must prepare projections showing at least a 3-year cost-benefit analysis, including costs and benefits of and revenues to be derived from the costs and revenues to be derived from constructing the telecommunications facilities. That's a big task, actually. And then there are a number of other provisions in the statute which also regulate what the county may do and if it proceeds, how it must proceed. I didn't want to get into those in any detail. I thought it would be a good idea simply to lay them out for you. And as a final statement, there are things which the county can do to assist townships, especially because of the county's control of county roads. And the assistance could relate to granting easements for broadband use in order to install the broadband system of which we're talking about. If this is something the county does wish to do, you can let us know and we can help you about the proper way to assist without violating either of these two statutes. And what I wanted to do is to simply get that out, and so you had it, give you an opportunity to look this material over, and then you can ask us additional questions if you feel that there are certain things that you'd like to have us elaborate on more than today. I didn't think today was a good idea to try to go through a lot of things because I felt it was first important for you to review these and decide what you'd like to do, and also if you want us to give you some assistance on some of these things, we'll be glad to help. And that's really all I have to say at the moment. I'm sure be glad to answer any questions, but I think this would be, the intent of this is just to get this information in your possession so you could digest it and decide what you'd like to do next. And Charlie and I are going to remain here. I mean, I'll answer questions on this, what I've just discussed, if you like. And Charlie and I will remain here for the second part of this, which relates to the delinquent tax revolving fund statute.
Thank you, John. This is Commissioner Scott. I have one thing to clarify with you just to make sure. What we are planning on doing next Thursday by possibly approving this contract with Merit to do the study and survey, what we're attempting to do does not violate any statute or any of the acts in the state of Michigan. Is that correct?
No, I think that would be one of the preliminary things that you would be required to do under these two acts, because there are lots of things you've got to do, and that certainly I haven't seen what that material that you just referred to, so I can't give you a detailed answer, but it sounds to me as though that is very preliminary and is the sort of thing that you might do whatever you decided to do, whether you were proceeding or not.
Right. Okay. I just wanted to make sure and to be clarified that That's the way I understood it also, is that by doing this would be the first step. This is not putting us into one way or another. On whether it's a private, local, private, public partnership, but more for grants to get the information for applying for grants. It has nothing to do with implementation of fiber broadband in the county and how that is going to be looked at. So.
Yes, and I think as the very preliminary part of my memo, I do make reference to the grant situation, which has been made of. That's something that townships have availed themselves of already, perhaps in your county and certainly in I think in Van Buren and Allegan counties that we have heard about. And we're not directly involved in that, but we do happen to know about it. So it makes perfect sense that you would be investigating that.
All right, thank you. Are there any other commissioners that have any questions for John on this issue?
Mr. Vice Chair?
Yes, Commissioner Curran.
Yeah, I just want to say that I really appreciate John being here and presenting us with the material. I'm sure you've heard Commissioner Scott talk about it in our meetings with John Eaglehoff, and we've talked about our right-of-ways, our easements. I appreciate Brian, and Brian brought in Jason Latham, and we had quite a discussion on what our participation may or may not be in that regard. And I appreciate Brian bringing John in so that he can be a good resource for us to answer any of those questions going forward, because we haven't ruled it out and we haven't ruled it in, but we have definitely looked at it. So I want to thank Brian and thank John for being here today.
Thank you, Jim. Anyone else have any questions?
Commissioner Scott?
Yes,
Yes.
Commissioner Yarborough.
Mamie Yarborough. Good morning, good afternoon, John. I'm so pleased that you're here. I just want to ask your company, you have experience with broadband. Is it working somewhere? Because we see it just from our Zoom meetings, our different commissioners where they live, they're not able to even talk to us, needing, stronger bandwidth or whatever. So can you just tell me that this can happen?
Well, there's no question that our firm has considerable experience in this area, and I worked with one of our partners who has been involved in this whole area for many years. And I consulted with him when I was preparing this memorandum, which you have. Yes. And so he'll be available as a resource if you have other questions, and I'll work with him, and we could have him at a future meeting, or at least to work. He reviewed the whole memorandum which you've just read, and made some suggestions which I included.
Hey, John.
Thank you.
As a follow-up to that, Rick Coy is a partner John's referring to. He actually wrote some of that legislation.
Okay, thank you, sir.
All right, any other commissioners have any questions for John? Administrator Doucette, do you have anything?
Yeah, so members of the board, my intent today was really to try and shine a light on the discussion of broadband. The committee's been actively working between 1.5 years and 2 years. It is time to hand off the broadband discussion from the committee to the full board. If at your next meeting, if the board desires to move forward with merit, staff will have an authorizing resolution on your agenda and ready. My goal today was to pull in the two Johns. We have John Eaglehoff, who's been working diligently on this issue. On the flip side, we have John Axe, who is going to help advise the county on future issues. because this is a very complicated subject. I don't want to present myself as the wet blanket. I do want to make sure that the board members have a clear vision of what this will look like. It is not going to be fast. It's not going to be easy. We know that we have a variety of complaints from residents across the county that they're just running into a lack of broadband. My goal is just for the board members to understand that your staff here will continue working on this. And I wish we had a silver bullet that would make this happen in the next 6 months. It's not going to be that fast, but we are taking positive steps. Mr. Chair, those would be my comments.
Yes, Commissioner Curran, I see you have your hand up.
Yes, thank you. I guess I need a clarification from Brian. When you say handing this off from the committee to the full board, does that mean that the broadband committee is being disbanded and the nuts and bolts of this will now be discussed in front of the full board?
Commissioner Curran, that is in no way my intent to take away the privilege of working with the committee. At some point in the future, the committee and the chair should probably have a conversation about how to continue conducting work. This is now a public discussion. I would anticipate there will be questions from the media as well as from residents. And as I've advised the committee members in the past, getting this into the form of an officially recognized committee would make some sense, just to ensure that there are no questions about transparency, how that committee is arranged, and if it falls under a specific parent committee. That's something that we'll want to engage Commissioner Elliott in, or Chairman Elliott in, to ensure that he's very comfortable and that process is seamless. But Commissioner Curran, you're still on that committee for now, and it's going to be Mac telling you when you're not.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you for that explanation. You know, a lot of hard work from the three of us have gone into this, and I think that between the three of us and John, you know, we can answer a lot of questions, and we really want to see this be successful and move forward. So I appreciate that explanation, Brian.
No problem.
Yes. Okay, are there any other questions or comments from any of the other commissioners? Okay, seeing that there is none, I'd like to thank everybody for listening to the presentation, and to John Eaglehoff and to John Axe for the explanation and the presentations. And we will be getting more information back to the board. As we get it, you'll be getting it. So, all right. The next thing on our agenda is public comments regarding resolutions. Annette?
Yep, so I have asked for public comments regarding the resolutions. I'm going to do that one more time. I can tell you that you've already got some general public comments to come about broadband specifically. I will read those during that portion. One more time, I'm going to ask.
Okay.
Okay, so it looks like your public comments regarding resolutions there are none. I do just want to make sure too that everybody has, that there is one added there was an added resolution at that section about the Veterans Affairs grant. I just want to make sure that you guys have that, just in case you chose to include that. Thank you.
About what? What is it about? Oh, it says Veterans Affairs?
Right, that was the added resolution.
Okay, I see it. Thank you.
Okay, next item is the consent calendar. Does anyone want anything pulled? Any of the resolutions pulled from the consent calendar? And that would be also, I'm going to include the added resolution in that also, if any commissioner wants anything pulled. Seeing that there isn't, I would entertain a motion for the approval of the consent calendar along with the added resolution, which is P 29388.
This is Commissioner Harrison. I'll make the motion to approve the consent calendar.
It's Commissioner Meeks, I'll support.
All right, and does that also include the added resolution that I mentioned, P 29388?
Yes, it does.
All right. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Vice Chair?
Oh, yes. I'm sorry.
Unless my bifocals are not working correctly, I believe the resolution is 209-338, not 88.
Oh, you are correct. My bifocals aren't working properly.
Very good, sir. Thank you.
All right, thank you. There any discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Curran,
Yes.
Freeland,
Yes.
Harrison,
Yes.
Hugel,
Yes.
Hinkleman, Major,
Yes.
Meeks.
Harley.
Is Meeks there? Sorry. Yes.
The dog voted yes.
Ball Brown,
Yes.
Yarborough,
Yes.
Chickering,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes, and my dog Harley approves also.
Mr. Chair, you have 11 yeas and 1 bark.
Thank you. He'll be wanted to be counted. Thank you so much. Okay. Committee reports is next. Commissioner Chickering, PHS.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. The PHSC committee met on Tuesday. We had we had 2 advanced step hires that we approved, one for the clerk's office, one for animal control. The one for animal control is particularly important because it's moving a temporary, i.e. 1,000 hour limited role into a full-time position. And this person will be in charge of volunteer activities, training, etc. Tiffany has done a tremendous job out there getting more and more people involved in the volunteers, adoptions, spay, neuter, things like that. And this permanent role will support her continued improvement efforts at our animal control facility. So many good things to say about that operation. We also passed along several resolutions which were approved just a moment ago, one of which was accepting CARES money for our first responders in the police department, the sheriff's department, which is gratefully passed along to those employees. We in personnel still have a concern that there are many other first responder type employees within Berrien County who have been ignored by the state of Michigan and our legislature and our governor. And we are considering ways that we can bring this to the attention of the public so that possibly we can get some additional funding for those others who have contributed so much during the pandemic. And I think that's about it. Terry, Dave, anything to add?
No, nothing.
Thank you. Any questions for PHS? All right, seeing none, our next committee report is Chairman Mimi Yarborough from Finance.
Thank you, Commissioner. Our first visit was with Todd Johnson of Building and Grounds. He told us about the roof on the courthouse that needs to be repaired at a cost of $17,000. There had been leaks and all, and they got all that stopped, but now they need to replace some of the, whatever the covering is. And we voted and passed that. Our entire Finance Committee was present at this meeting. The next thing we did, we talked to Sheriff Bailey and Under Sheriff Chuck Height, and they brought us up to date on their boat fleet, the number of boats they have, the years that they are, and they let us know that Evinrude motor is being repaired. And so a number of the boats are called safe boats, and they're in areas that need to be able to go out in Lake Michigan. Some boats are just for going out in the river. And it was just very interesting. And then the next thing we talked about was, let me see, with Todd Rainey. He is the director of the motor pool. And one of the things that came to Commissioner Ezra Scott to ask about is with this different work that we need done on the boat motors, is that anything that could happen with our motor pool? And Todd said that working on a boat is a completely different toolbox, more smaller parts and all, and you really have to know what you're doing to be able to work on those. Although the Sheriff's Department and the Motor Pool Department work well together with other things, connecting up trailers and, you know, different things that they can do. Another thing we talked about, let's see, where are we? The motor pool man was there because he wanted to talk to us about the sheriff's cars. We lost a sheriff car. There was a wreck and it was totaled out. And last month or two, we've talked about ordering 5 Tahoes. And that was discussed with our finance committee and approved. But what Todd wanted to bring to our attention, the previous time that we ordered cars, we had a difficult time getting the number. And he thinks that we should soon do it, expecting that they would be delivered about February. He said the production, we buy from Michigan, is that how you said?
My Deal.
My Deal.
Yeah.
And the man had ordered 300 and something cars, sheriff's cars, police cars, and he was only able to get 200 because production is down everywhere. And so we did not want to, you know, be in need of, and these cars we're replacing those that are over the mileage. And because we lost a car, Todd Rainey said that 6 would be what he would really like to request. But if he could get one more, 7, knowing that something will happen in the sheriff's is usually when it's snow. We were fortunate last year, it was not bad, but sometimes the weather bad causes people and things to slide into cars. And so as we discussed and talked about it, what we came to is we gave permission to Todd Rainey to order 7 cars. The money is there to do so, knowing that there is more money than what the cars will be because of the outfitting them. And they will outfit all 7 of them and hope that they will be available, but we need to get the order in right away. He's ready to go with it. And so all of our members voted to do that. I'm just trying to see what else did we have. We talked about Merit Network with the broadband. Or was that in this? Administrator, just that you talked to us?
Yep. Madam Chair, I briefed the Finance Committee on both the Merit proposal as well as the Edgewater proposal.
Yes.
We've covered Merit, and under Administrator's comments, I'll be covering the Edgewater proposal.
Okay, good. I'll leave that, but we did discuss, it was brought to us by our Administrator said about those 2. And good. And we have Merit through John Eaglehoff and through John X, knowing that they are reputable and well-known working. We made a motion to accept our minutes, and we did. That's all I remember. And so I'd like to ask the committee, any other things that you?
I think you covered it well.
Thank you. That is my report. Thank you.
All right, commissioners, any questions for finance? Okay, seeing none, we have commissioner reports. We're starting to get a little bit long. If there's something that someone really has that's pressing, to let us know, we'll take those. Otherwise, we could hold off on those until next week, if possible. Is there anybody that has anything pressing on commissioner reports? Yes, Commissioner Yarborough.
Yes, I'd like for Bill Chickering to talk with me, to come up with what he thinks about. We had a parks meeting yesterday. Was that the first time we'd had one this year?
Yes.
Yeah, and it was long and it was a lot. And so just between us, I think that we need to tell some things. Do you want to start, Bill, or you want me to, or?
Sure, I'll be happy to, Mimi, because I think it is important for everybody to keep up. Very quickly, there's a lot of ground that we covered. One of the things I think that pleased all of the parks commissioners and should please the Board of Commissioners here is that in spite of the pandemic and restrictions and social distancing and blah, 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 the overall parks budget for this year, revenues are down only $67,000 or about 10%, which is really a very positive thing compared to the strict limitations that were placed on our parks in terms of allowing people in. And this is also based on only 50% available parking at Silver Beach, which is a major source of the Parks Department's fundraising on an annual basis. So a lot of great work in the Parks Department to keep revenue flow and expenses down. The concession stand on Silver Beach, for example, had a record year. So there are a lot of people still going to the beach.
Yeah.
Jill Adams reported on the environmental activities. I think one thing that was extremely important for Mamie and I, and maybe some of you, is that the next environmental pickup will be in Buchanan on October 10th, and they will be taking documents for destruction. I've got half a garage full of old papers that need to be shredded. So any of you that in the same boat, I know Mamie is, circle October 10th on your calendars. We also, and I think Administrator Doucette is going to talk in detail about this, so I won't want to preclude his discussion, but we had a long talk about the erosion problem on Silver Beach. Brian has some aggressive plans to confront that in the short term, and I think he will talk about that. And then finally, and Mamie, you may wish to weigh in on this because I missed part of this discussion. One of the parks commissioners, J.B. Hoyt, made a very detailed PowerPoint presentation to the parks commissioners, stressing the need to increase revenue, and his conclusion that the Parks Commission resolution that came before the Board of Commissioners last fall to increase the parks millage from 0.1 to 0.2 is necessary so that we can start the repair work on many of our facilities, which are in dire need. So Mamie, would you like to comment on that?
Yes, and that it has already been given to us by the community. And so it is something that the board can do without putting it on the ballot. And we know that. And so it would be up to the board, but I think he means to send us information, or he thinks that the Parks Committee members should talk to each of their commissioners that represent their areas and convince them so. What we have is at Madeline Bertrand, there is a lookout. It's a building, and you've seen it before, that needs great repair because you climb up and it's worn. There are so many things that are worn out. And that's what I'm proud about, is how we try to maintain and keep things up the way that we worked so hard on the courthouse in Berrien Springs, putting in new windows that were like the windows in 1892. That's my favorite number. And painting and things. Well, we have many buildings that are in that condition and that needs that. They thought that the erosion at Silver Beach would be of the park money, but we don't believe that's what will happen. That's roads and drains and erosion. So it will not take money from this, but it's needed. What was so interesting is Brian was able to tell us that the parks earned $690,780 during this season. It was only about $67,000 down from what it was last year. So people used our parks, all of them, Love Creek, Rocky Gap, Madeline Bertrand, they would just come and park and take their families and walk around. When we had the recycling thing going on, that was held at Love Creek. And the young lady, oh, what's her name? Not Katie.
Jill Adams.
Who?
Jill Adams.
Yeah, Jill Adams said she was so pleased about it because she believes people probably came to that recycle event that had never been to Love Creek. And so that was a good advertisement for it, that more people will come and walk the trails and ride their bikes and ski. It was just a very positive and a very good meeting, all the things that they're doing. They had a lot of gatherings, appointments for 17 rentals at Rocky Gap, at that area where you do weddings or parties or whatever. And the Pawpaw River County Park, so many things are going on, and they're requesting funds and waiting, to hear from that. The same thing with a piece of property they want to buy at Madeline Bertrand Park. So there are a number of good things going on. That's what I have written. Did you have anything else, Bill?
No, that's great, Mamie. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Commissioners. And does anybody have any questions from either of these two commissioners? Those are excellent reports.
Thank you.
Are there any other commissioners that have anything that they would like to share with the board at this time? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to Administrator Bissett.
Members of the board, I just ask that you hang in there a little bit longer. I know this is a lengthy meeting. I will try to go quickly on this topic because I know there's still public comments as well as a closed session. Put simply, the Parks Commission met yesterday, and one of the featured discussion points was erosion control at Silver Beach. Over the last couple of months, we have sought proposals from Avonmarsh Engineering as well as Edgewater Resources. They're both local firms, both with a lot of experience dealing with shoreline erosion and coming up with solutions. The Parks Commission ultimately recommended a proposal from Edgewater Resources, which focuses largely on temporary work to try and control some of the erosion. The proposal seeks to work with the Army Corps of Engineers as well as other vendors to try and place what would be temporary structures, HESCO barriers or similar products that could be placed in a very hurry-up timeline to get these barriers in place before the close of the current calendar year. I've consulted with the admin committee. I've consulted with the chair of PHSC. I briefed the finance committee earlier today on this topic, but the real point I'm trying to make is our Parks Commission reviewed all of the proposals and ultimately recommended that we proceed with engaging Edgewater Resources with a quoted amount of not to exceed $18,800. There was discussion as to why do you need to spend $18,800 to go in and start this work. I explained to the Parks Commission as well as Commissioner Chickering via an on-site meeting that we don't have staff in-house that can put together the joint permit to the Army Corps of Engineers as well as Eagle to proceed with getting structures in place. Further, we need outside expertise to help guide what is to be placed and where it is to be placed. At this point, we are getting very close to the end of the calendar year. We know that as we get into fall, fall will then lead to winter. Winter is going to lead to storms. We don't have a lot of space at Silver Beach. The space that we do have, if we don't take steps to do some armoring, we are likely to lose. Yesterday, Commissioner Chickering was kind enough to meet me on site along with Mr. Greg Wykamp, the owner of Edgewater Resources, for a brief walking tour. At that time, I think we addressed some of his questions as to what could be placed, where it could be placed, and quite frankly, what it's going to look like. At this point, I would ask that the board consider authorizing me to proceed with engaging Edgewater Resources. This is a situation that, as the chairman earlier today pointed out, you typically have an authorizing resolution. This is what I would describe as an emergency situation. Time is of the essence because before we can place any type of erosion control, we do have to go through the permitting process. The permitting process can require weeks or longer, and every day that passes is just a day that we're getting closer to what is likely to be severe winter weather. Your staff has been working on this for well over a month, and we're at a point where we do have some growing anxiety that if we wait much longer, we will get into the winter and our ability to place these materials is going to be hampered. Mr. Chair, I would ask that you consider opening it up for discussion. I'll happily answer any questions, but to be clear, I am asking the board to consider authorizing me to engage Edgewater Resources to proceed with this work.
And
Thank
Mr.
you,
Mr. Vice Chair, I would make that as a motion to put before the board.
Yeah.
Are you making that motion, Commissioner Chickering?
Yes, sir, I am.
All right, is there support?
I support Mamie L. Yarborough.
All right, we have a motion and a support. Any discussion?
Restate the motion, please.
That, excuse me, I'll try, that the board authorizes the county administrator to engage Edgewater Resources to the tune of necessary dollars to do the permitting process to, as the first step in the preventative maintenance down on Silver Beach. Is that fair, Brian?
Yes, sir, that'll work.
And do you support that worded out motion, Commissioner Yarborough?
Yes, I do.
All right, any discussion on this reworded motion?
I sent that up to my CFM, the manager, because it's been, oh my God.
I can't hear. Who is that?
We just had some background noise. Maybe that wasn't part of the meeting.
Oh, okay.
If there's no further discussion.
I have.
I'm sorry, go
Mamie
ahead.
Yarborough, have you talked to the city of St. Joe? Are they in this? And I know you said this is our property, I know that. But is St. Joe in this in any way?
Yeah, so this is Brian Doucette. I've had a series of conversations with the city manager. The city manager has indicated a willingness to participate in the project. I believe that what they're looking for is direction from Berrien County leadership as to what will the project be. As we identify what types of materials are best suited for this site, I'll continue my communications with the city manager to see what the city of St. Joseph is willing to provide, be it financial or potentially be it labor. If we go with HESCO barriers, that's one where I could be asking him to loan us some labor from his public works department. Once I know what we're gonna build, that's when I will finalize our conversations and figure out what the partnership will look like with the city of St. Joe.
Good. Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
This is Commissioner Harrison. You might also want to talk to Eagle about an emergency authorization to take, because of the, I mean, you're going to run out of time based on the typical review process that they engage in. And so they might let you do some temporary fix just because of the pending storm season.
Duly noted. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
I just want to specify the motion did not place a dollar amount, but yet Brian said 18.5. Is it safe to say, Brian, it'll be pretty close to 18.5 and not much more than that?
Just to clarify, I think I said 18.8, but yes, to your point, I don't anticipate that we're going to go beyond that.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Commissioner Curran, my understanding is this is a motion to approve the design stages with Edgewater. The 18.8 does not include any of the actual construction of what barriers are going to be used. This is just the design and engineering stage and the permitting stage. Is that correct, Administrator?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you. Just make sure there was clarification there. Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, would the clerk please call the roll?
Freeling.
She said yes.
Harrison.
Yes.
Hinkleman. Yes. Majerick.
Yes.
Meeks.
Yes.
Walrath.
Yes.
Yarborough.
Yes.
Chickering.
Yes.
Curran.
Yes.
Scott.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, you have 10 yeas.
Okay, the motion passes. The next thing on our agenda is the general public comment. Annette?
Yep, I will get right in there. Hold on 1 second.
Sure. I would like to let the board know, in case they didn't, that Commissioner Volrath will be leaving us shortly. He has an appointment.
Okay, we will start with Eric Lester from St. Joseph Township. May as well throw in his other comment. Thanks for making this meeting available. And he's glad to learn of these efforts regarding broadband. It is a very important issue. And the Berrien County Democratic Party presented a resolution to the County Commission regarding this issue in 2019. Glad to see progress. Deanna Briggs from, Deanna Briggs is from Orinoco Township. Okay, thank you for hearing me and thank you for the work that you put in on this. This is an issue I have been fighting with for over a decade. So I have a fair bit to say, please bear with me. I very much appreciate you moving forward with the merit survey, and I deeply hope that you're able to secure that federal grant. I live on Gar Road near the Orinoco Township line, and out here, we have one option: poor quality, constantly degrading, 2.5 M down, 0.5 M up, DSL from AT&T. So poor, in fact, they no longer offer it to new customers. Sure, if you look around, you'll see a few options listed, but as was mentioned, those maps are incredibly inaccurate. Going forward, I would urge you to look into fiber over other options as much as possible. Fixed, wireless, and 5G are problematic in rural areas, and trees and hills being obstacles that degrade quality. I understand this has a great cost comparatively, but it is a more reliable, more future-proof option. I would also urge you to make sure that you are truly focusing on unserved and underserved areas. Often the focus is to bring more options to those who already have it, who have it, while those of us that have no options are overlooked. We are falling behind because of it. Thank you. Adolph Peltzer with Hager Township. I sometimes walk along the beach at Rocky Gap. I noticed going north along the beach that piles of boulders are out of the water, are out in the water. All right. Tony Benhart, Sodas Township. Has any thought been given to asking the Army Corps to extend the South Pier to the south, parallel to the beach, to create a wave stop to protect the beach and from large boulders? I ask one more time. Tony added some additional, that can be removed if needed. Mother Nature did this, and Mother Nature will usually win over man-made structures. Just to remind everybody that when you're communicating via YouTube, it restricts you to 200 words or 200 characters. So that's why they have to keep adding more in a different channel. It doesn't appear as though you have any other public comments.
All right. Well, thank you. And I'd like to thank the public for their comments. As you know, these are all issues that your county board is working on and have been working on and will continue to work on. With that being said, is there any other business that needs to be conducted? Commissioners, staff? Seeing that there is none, we'll move on to announcements and reminders. On 10/1, the Finance Committee meeting, which will be virtual, will be at 9 a.m. And on the same date, 10/1, the Board of County Commissioners regular meeting will be on virtual at 10:30 a.m. Are there any other announcements or reminders, Administrator? Have you got anything?
No, sir.
All right, thank you. With that being said,
Excuse me, sir.
yes.
Was there a meeting on Monday, a committee on committee? I saw that on the computer.
Yes, ma'am.
What time?
2 p.m.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. And with that, our next item on the agenda is go into closed session. So we're going to go into closed session to consult with our attorney regarding trial and settlement strategy in connection with pending litigation. What I would like to know is if we can have a motion to leave the regular meeting, go into closed session. And once that motion is made and supported and we vote on it, I do not believe we are going to come out with any decision from that meeting. So when we do come out of closed session, we will go to adjournment. So I wanted the public to know that we're not going to be really conducting any other business after we come out of closed session. So I'll be looking for a motion.
Mr. Vice Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we go into closed session for the stated reason.
All right. Do we have a support?
Commissioner Harrison, I'll support the motion.
Thank you. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Harrison,
Yes.
Hinkleman,
Hinkleman left at 12:19.
Majerick,
Yes.
Meeks,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Walrath. He left.
At 12:30.
12:31. Yarborough,
Yes.
Chickering,
Yes.
Curran.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, you have 8 present and 4 absent.
I also vote yes. This is Commissioner Freeling.
Oh, sorry, I missed you. Freeland.
Yes.
I looked up at that and I didn't even call it.
Thank you. Okay.